I arrived at the old house as dawn was just breaking, the sky awash with dull orange light. Ever since I was a child, I had heard countless tales about the place, strange whispers that reverberated from the walls at night, footsteps echoing down the hallway when everyone believed it to be empty, and doors that creaked open and slammed shut on their own. Villagers crossed to the other side of the street to avoid that block after dark. Despite all the warnings and chilling legends, I chose to move in. I needed a cheap place to live, and this house, abandoned for years, fit the bill. On my first night, I was struck by a silence so intense that my ears felt clogged. The air felt thick and suffocating, and every soft creak of the floorboards sounded like a distant thunderclap. I set up a small oscillating fan in the bedroom, hoping its drone would drown out the oppressive hush. When I lay down, I convinced myself there was nothing to fear. Yet the moment I closed my eyes, darkness seemed to come alive. I heard a low, slow whisper, a lament that made my blood run cold. "Help me," my skin prickled. I jutted upright and switched on the bedside lamp. The hallway beyond stood empty. Only the curtain fluttered slightly, stirred by a draft coming through a cracked window. By morning, I forced myself to explore every corner of that house. I discovered rooms boarded shut with rotting planks, dark stains on the wooden floors that looked reddish, as if tainted by old blood. In the parlor, a dusty record player sat still, yet its vinyl spun faintly beneath a thick layer of dust, as though some unseen hand was keeping it alive. In the kitchen, I uncovered a cracked teacup split down the middle, its porcelain rim jagged and chipped, containing traces of what appeared to be ancient, stale coffee. I thought those remains belonged to a decade-long abandoned family, but something inside me whispered there was more to it. A chill ran through me as I held that fractured cup. Nightfall intensified the dread. When the hallway light flickered off without warning, I felt a brush against my shoulder, like a cold breath passing by. With trembling hands, I flipped the switch. The bulb wavered before glowing once more, revealing an empty corridor. I dashed into the living room, flipping on every lamp and flashlight I had. In the dust atop a rusted radiator, I noticed a pair of tiny handprints, as though a child had pressed her palms there. My fingers traced them, a frigid wave coursing through me. Those prints climbed up toward the dark under the stairs and then vanished. I recoiled, convinced my mind was playing tricks on me, yet the sensation of being watched never left me. Sleepless nights followed, plagued by dreams I could not distinguish from reality. In my nightmares, there was a pale-faced girl with sunken eyes and a diaphanous gown that fluttered in a non-existent breeze. She whispered my name, moving toward me at an unhurried pace. I reached out to comfort her, but my arms passed through her like smoke. Whenever I tried to look directly at her face, her expression shifted, sometimes sorrow, sometimes silent rage. I woke up screaming, drenched in cold sweat. In one particularly vivid dream, she tore the silence with a strangled cry, "Don't go away." When I opened my eyes, I saw a faint reflection in the hall mirror, her form standing far behind me. I blinked, and she was gone. The letter came next, more disturbing still. It was a tattered envelope, unsealed and without a stamp, pinned to the back of my chair with a rusty needle. Inside, scrawled in blurred, ink-smeared handwriting, were the words, "Do not return tonight, or they will catch you." My heart thundered. Who was warning me? I didn't know a soul in this half-forgotten village. From that moment, each time I left my bedroom, my chest tightened, and the air grew thicker, an invisible force gripping me, as though the house itself demanded my presence. One overcast afternoon, I ventured into the attic, where the floorboards groaned underfoot. There, I found rusted swings choked by ivy, eyeless rag dolls strewn across rotting floor planks, and a battered journal whose pages were brittle and fraying. On its cover, in faded pencil, I could barely make out Maria Lopez, 1947. I opened it carefully, grazing its sharp, yellowed edges with my fingertips. The entries described how her daughter vanished one bitter winter night. The child had been playing in the corridor when a deep growl shook the house's foundation. The mother ran to the child's room, but when she clicked on the lamp, her daughter had already vanished. The last passages spoke of an incessant wail heard at precisely 3 a.m. each night, and of nightmares that erased the boundary between dream and waking life. My throat tightened as I read the final line. I feel her near me already. That same night, the cabbage I'd left on the kitchen counter rotted in a matter of hours, festering with mildew as if guided by an unseen hand. Fresh scratch marks surfaced on the walls, mirroring the twisted sketches I had glimpsed in the attic, shadowy figures and ghostly hands clawing at solid wood. I tried to rationalize moisture, pests, exhaustion. Yet each morning, when I opened my journal, I found a new, handwritten note not penned by me, words like "Run, don't look back, at 3. My pulse thundered. Obsessed with proof, I set up an old tape recorder along the central hallway. That night, I captured faint, delicate footsteps like a child running, followed by a strangled whisper, "We wait for you," and then a sudden, heart-wrenching sob. I replayed the recording over and over, certain someone was pranking me, but the anguish in that voice was undeniably real. Fear took root in every fiber of my being. I sought help at the village church, but the priest, after inspecting the empty corridors, left shaken and swore he'd never return. He told me that house witnessed horrors long buried, and that its walls soaked up the agony of those who never found rest. The sensation of unseen eyes grew stronger each passing day. At times, I'd glimpse a fleeting silhouette just beyond the corner of my vision once, a small hand peeking around a half-closed door. Furniture shifted positions while I slept. One morning, I discovered a thin trail of tiny footprints imprinted in the dust on the rug, leading from the parlor into the bathroom. There, I found a child's porcelain toothbrush shattered into fragments. A wave of nausea surged through me as I backed away. On a bleary afternoon, I uncovered several sepia photographs hidden in the drawer of the master bedroom's dresser. They depicted the Lopez family, the father's stern countenance, the mother's hollow gaze, and the little girl smiling, clutching a worn teddy bear. In one shot, the child stood by the very window I had seen in my dreams. My fingers trembled as I touched that image. Suddenly, I understood. The house remembered her life, her final moments. I whispered into the stale air, "Laura," and a soft moan echoed behind me. I spun around, but the hallway lay empty, save for my own churning terror reflected in the glass. As days bled into nights, reality warped. My waking hours were consumed by frantic journal entries and straining to hear the faintest creak in the floorboards. At night, voices entwined with my thoughts until I could no longer trust my own senses. In a fevered dream, I saw her rocking alone on the rusted swing set, shadows huddled around her, howling in fury. I woke with my skull throbbing and my vision hazy, as if the nightmares still clung to my mind. Desperate, I resolved to confront the haunting. I installed cameras in every corridor, emergency lights in each room, and motion sensors at every doorway, anything to prove I wasn't hallucinating. I pored over footage until dawn, watching the air ripple like invisible waves passing through the hallway. Then, on the monitor, a pale little hand brushed the lens so delicate and abrupt that I doubted my own eyes. My knuckles whitened as I clenched the desk, my skin crawled with dread. I felt certain my mind would shatter under the terror. The final confrontation occurred on a storm-lashed Friday night. Thunder rattled the windows, and wind battered the frame so fiercely that branches scraped against the glass like claws. At precisely 2:45 a.m., a torrent of rapid knocks thundered against the front door, as though someone or something pleaded to be admitted. Each knock reverberated through the empty halls. My heart pounded in my throat as I stumbled from my bedroom. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the foyer in stark, blinding flashes. I stood frozen for a moment, paralyzed by fear. Then I heard her voice in almost breathless whisper, "Come." She said my name and extended a pale hand. Behind her, the walls pulsed with shadows that writhed like living things. The floor trembled beneath my feet, and I smelled scorched wood, as if unseen beams were smoldering. Panic surged through me. My legs trembled and refused to obey the command to step back. She took a deliberate step closer. With each movement, the lights flickered and died. After her third step, the hallway plunged into absolute darkness. Only the pounding of my heart filled my ears. I felt something brush my leg, a lingering, ice-cold touch. Then a chorus of voices erupted, an unsettling choir of anguished whispers fused with deranged laughter. I sensed her breath next to my ear. "You cannot run." I tried to scream, but only a strangled rasp escaped. My thoughts twisted into a nightmare labyrinth. Suddenly, she let out a piercing shriek that shattered the silence. An unseen force flung me to the floor. My head slammed against the hardwood with a sickening crack. In that fleeting moment, I glimpsed shadows lunging at me, claws extended. My fingertips scraped along a splintered crack in the floor as I clawed desperately for something real. Memories flashed, my family, my regrets, the warnings I had ignored. A child's voice rang out, "You stay with us." A searing pain erupted in my skull. My vision blurred, black blotches overtaking my sight. Darkness closed in around me, suffocating and total. I felt my chest tighten, as though invisible hands crushed my ribs. The world slipped into a final, echoing silence. At first light, a neighbor discovered the house silent and brooding, its door hanging off twisted hinges. The morning air smelled of damp earth and stale decay. There, on the hallway floor, lay my body. My eyes were wide open, frozen in a last, mute scream, terror etched into my features. Clenched in my lifeless hand was a soiled, damp teddy bear. Fresh scratches marred the walls, stretching up toward the attic floorboards. Today, the house stands deserted, its windows boarded and paint peeling like scabbed skin. Townsfolk whisper that if you pass by after 11 at night, the second-floor window glows with a faint, ghostly light. Some swear they see a small figure swaying in the corner, the silhouette of a girl in a tattered gown. Others claim they hear her whisper, "Soon, it will be your turn." On fog-drenched evenings, the pavement near the entrance glistens with inexplicable dampness, as though the air itself weeps. Now, the house waits in silent vigil for whoever comes next. The cold drafts that snake through its corridors carry echoes of the past, echoes of mourning and broken promises. Every time I close my eyes, I see her pale face and feel her longing gaze. Sometimes, when I walk alone on deserted streets, I catch myself murmuring her name, sensing her presence in the shadows. And I cannot forget that in that house of hollow walls, terror never rests, it only hovers, waiting for its next visitor.